The land explored by our ancestors extends from Altai to the White Sea. The scientific expedition Trails of Nomads continues to unveil the path of our forefathers. Its leader is a true citizen of the world. He believes, without a deep understanding of the past, there is no future. Each journey is focused on a detailed study of history and culture. Pilgrim of the 21st century, Zapari Skakov, with a team of scientists, has already visited more than 50 countries. Scientists reveal the exciting secrets of the past. Watch an amazing story of a great journey in the Trails of Nomads program. Today's Trails of Nomads episode presents Trails of Nomads scientific expedition came to the North Pole. Why is this trip important? Where did the Turkish cartographer who lived 5 centuries ago get information about the Arctic? What feat did Crimean Tatar Ibragim Fakidov, who was member of the famous expedition, Joly make? The ancestors of the Kazakhs, who were the first in the world to tame a wild horse, visited almost all corners of the planet. There is evidence of their presence on the Japanese islands, on the American continent. Surprisingly, they even conquered the North Pole. In 2008, an expedition led by the famous traveler Zapari Skakov made the trip to the North Pole. This is a significant event in the history of Kazakhstan. For the first time, the flag of independent Kazakhstan was hoisted on the edge of the earth. This is a kind of revival of the feat of the Turks in modern times.
Мен 2006 жылы инфаркт миокард алдым. Сол кезінде мен ойлағанмын енді маған спортта, туризмде.
In 2006, I had a myocardial infarction. At that moment, I thought that I should forget about sports and tourism. However, my doctor motivated me and I decided to test myself. I wondered if I could go on such extreme tourism after such an illness. As a result, in 2007, I visited the South Pole. After that, the next year, that is in 2008, we went to the North Pole.
Келесі жылы 2008 жылы солтүстік бөлікке бардық.
The trip to the North Pole began in Moscow. The members of the expedition visited the Red Square, where once the heroes of Kazakhstan of the Second World War walked. In Murmansk, the scientists boarded a large ship that was waiting for passengers in the port. Ice expanses an iron giant, a picture that will take your breath away. However, the crew members of the nuclear-powered Icebreaker, Yamaha, reassured them, saying that this was the most powerful ship of this kind in the world. And this was its 35th voyage.
Енді Мурманскан шыққан уақытында әрине әртүрлі сезім болады әркімде. Енді көптен бері ойда жүрген арман орындалатын болды.
When we left Murmansk, each of us had different feelings. The dream was going to come true. After all, not everyone had such an opportunity to go to the North Pole, to the Arctic. We were among those lucky ones on the ship. Members of the expedition from 14 different countries were on board. There were 78 or 79 people. There were 3 of us in the group. Then the 4th joined. This is Vyacheslav Kim, a businessman from Almaty. Thus, the Kazakh team included 4 people.
Кәсіпкер Алматыдан. Сонымен бәріміз 4 адам осылай Қазақстан командасын құрдық деп айтуға болады.
Deciding on such an extreme journey is a volitional act because the weather conditions at the pole are unpredictable. The situation can change at any moment. Special attention is paid to safety issues here. As soon as the ship left the dock, a special briefing was given to the passengers. The risk, of course, is great, but there is also a huge interest in this important area of tourism in Russia. The Yamaha Icebreaker's main mission is to deliver expedition to the Arctic. This only happens twice a year. The rest of the time, the icebreaker works according to its main purpose – ice breaking.
Ямал атомдық мұзжарғыш кемесі 1992 жылы Санкт-Петербург қаласында.
The nuclear-powered icebreaker Yamal was built in 1992 in St. Petersburg. Its length is 150 meters, width is 30 meters, and the capacity is 75,000 horsepower.
Бұның күші 75 мың атом күшіне барады екен.
People have always strived to conquer the North Pole, even when there was no advanced technology. According to official data, the North Pole was discovered by the Americans. In 1908, explorer Frederick Cook made the announcement of the discovery, but he could not provide precise evidence for this. A year later, a traveler Robert Peary, with his friend Matthew Henson and 4 Eskimo guides, announced that they had reached the junction point of the meridians. He noted that this place is on a thick layer of ice, but his arguments were not fully accepted.
Бұл ғылыми жағынан өте маңызды, ғалымдар оны ары қарай зерттей берді. Бірақ көбісі өкінішке орай.
This is very important from a scientific point of view. Scientists continued their research. Many could not reach the pole for various reasons. There were shipwrecks. In 1928, the Italian scientist Umberto Nobile went there by an airship. Unfortunately, it also crashed. Norwegian scientist Roald Amundsen flew out to search Umberto Nobile. However, his plane fell and the researcher also died.
Норвегияның ғалымы соны іздеп самолетпен шығып, бірақ өкінішке орай ол да қайтыс болады жолда құлап.
On the third day, the nuclear-powered icebreaker Yamal reached Franz Josef Land in the Arctic Ocean. The archipelago, which covers an area of 16,000 square kilometers, accounts for approximately 200 islands. One of them is Bell Island. The island was named so because there is a mountain similar in shape to a bell. This island was discovered in 1880 by a British expedition led by Benjamin Lee Smith. This wooden house, which is called Era Lodge, remained after the participants stayed here. They built it in honor of their ship. Now this territory is Russian. The next stop after Bell Island is Northbrook Island. Its name was given in honor of the man who was president of the Royal Geographical Society from 1890 to 1893, the Earl of Northbrook. This place surprises with its moss flora. The peculiarity of this island is that it is divided into 2 parts. This was noticed in 2006 by the captain of the Yamal Icebreaker, Stanislav Rumyantsev.
Бұл аралда көп зерттеушілер, ғалымдар тоқтаған кез.
At one time, a lot of research scientists stayed on this island. For example, Benjamin Lee Smith stopped here in 1882-1883, Nansen in 1896, Georgy Sidov in 1930. Therefore, this place is a kind of historical monument.
Бұл жер тарихи ескерткіш сияқты.
The nuclear icebreaker Yamal, having sailed from Northbrook Island, moved further and further from the warm climate towards the harsh Arctic. Over time, the ocean waters turned to ice. This is the last point in the north of Franz Josef Land, the vicinity of Rudolph Island. The leader of the Russian expedition to the North Pole, Georgy Sedov, died while approaching Rudolph Island. This journey took place in 1912-1914.
1914 жылы Георгий Седов
In 1914, Georgy Sedov, together with 2 sailors, headed towards Rudolph Island. The North Pole is 900 kilometers behind it. However, on the way, Georgy Sedov died. At that time, scurvy was the most common disease among polar explorers, and most likely, he died from that disease.
ол кісі сондай аурудан қайтыс болуы мүмкін.
After Sedov's expedition, several more expeditions were organized in this direction. The Chaluskin expedition is especially worth noting. This group, named after Simeon Chaluskin, who in the 18th century participated in the Great Journey to the North, opened the way for the planned development of the Arctic Basin. The leader of the expedition, which departed from the Murmansk port in 1933, was Otto Schmidt. The captain was Vladimir Voronin. The crew of 112 people included the Crimean Tatar Ibragim Fakidov. Professor Fakidov performed an important mission in search and preparation of materials to prove the suitability of the Northern Sea route for the transportation of goods to Siberia and the Far East.
Түрік тұқымдас Ибрагим Факидов сол кемеде ғылыми жұмыстар істеп жүреді. Ол кемеге мінген уақытында 80 жерден приборларды қояды кеменің үстінде.
Ibrahim Fakidov was of Turkic origin. He was engaged in scientific research on the ship. For this, he installed 80 equipment on the ship. Every day he watched them and sent all the readings to the center. After the ship sank, he set up a tent on the ice and kept his equipment there. So scientific research was continued. Thanks to them, the Soviet Union received very valuable information. In 1934, Ibrahim Fakidov was awarded the Order of the Red Star for his scientific works.
Деген үлкен жұмыстар үшін, ғылыми жұмыстар үшін Қызыл жұлдыз деген орденмен марапатталады.
The first Kazakh cosmonaut, Tokhtar Aubakir, for the first time in the history of the Soviet Union, made a non-stop flight to the North Pole on a MiG-31 fighter. He took off from Murmansk and flew to the very extreme pole. His plane was refueled twice in the air. The main purpose of the flight, which lasted 8 hours, was to test the fighter for the influence of latitudinal magnetic anomalies.
6 рет жанына бардым да өттім. Содан кейін айттым. Мен айттым, содан кейін мына.
I flew there 6 times. I said that people could be sent there. I filled out the relevant documents for higher authorities. Then they decided to send people to the North Pole.
Олар шешім қабылдады. Северный полюсқа барайық деп. Енді мен жетуіме ол енді 500 шақырым ғана қалды. Мен жетер едім.
I had 500 kilometers left to the extreme point and I would have flown, but there were young people and they also have to do something. Reaching the pole is, of course, world-class news. For this, I trained my deputy. After me, there was only Roman Petrovich Taskayev.
Жігітті мен дайындадым. Менен кейін анау жігіт қана шықты. Таскаев Роман Петрович деген бала.
Another important historical document is the maps left by the 16th century Turkish admiral Piri Reis. He accurately mapped both the Arctic and Antarctica. Another Turkish cartographer, Haji Ahmed, made a map in 1559 that also makes modern scientists think. It turns out that the Turkic peoples already possessed all the necessary information about the Arctic 5 centuries ago.
1513 жылы түріктің мұхитшысы адмиралы Piri Reis бірінші рет дүниежүзінің картасын жасап.
In 1513, the Turkish navigator Admiral Piri Reis made maps of the world for the first time. It was renovated in 1526. There are over 200 maps. These maps show North Sea, Greenland, South Antarctica, Africa, America. Everything's there. To this day, modern scientists cannot understand how such a map was made.
Осы күнге шейін ғалымдар таба алған жоқ. Бұл карта қалай жасалды?
If you study history, you can learn a lot of amazing things. The ancestors of today's Turks from the Sirdarya region once went to the Bosphorus. Istanbul was then guarded by an army formed of Kipchak soldiers. They came from Europe, more precisely from Bulgaria. The Kipchaks, hearing that the Oghuz Seljuk army was advancing from their native steppe to Anatolia, decided not to oppose their blood brothers and made a wise decision. In one night, they left their positions, crossing the Bosphorus. This fact suggests that the ancestors were strong not only on land but also at sea.
Алғашқы түрк флотинасын құрған кісіні Чака бей.
The person who first formed the Turkic flotilla was called Chaka Bey. So Chaka Bey was a Kipchak. He was like Baybars. it was said that he also came from this great steppe. Then he fought with the Byzantines and formed a large flotilla near present Izmir. A large flotilla which could withstand Byzantium was formed in the Aegean, Marmara and Black Seas. This proves the inconsistency of the theory that the Turks did not know the seas and were only steppe nomads.
Қана даланы мекендейді деген теорияның негізсіз екендігін көрсетеді.
The Yamaha Icebreaker is breaking the ice. Looking at the thickness of the ice, one can judge how low the air temperature is. However, there is a warm atmosphere on board. Thanks to the friendly atmosphere, time on the ship passes quickly. The Yamaha Icebreaker has conquered the North Pole 35 times. For the crew members, every trip to the pole is historical. This is a special event for our country because our Kazakh flag is hovering in the far north for the first time. We have hosted our flag. The Kazakhstan's flag, among 14 other countries, now hovers over the pole. Together with the national flag, the flags of the Nur Otan Party, the cities of Nur Sultan, Kostanay, and the Eclipse Company were raised at the North Pole. This became a significant event in the life of the country, the revival of the sea feet of the ancestors.
Мемлекеттің туын ілу солтүстік полюске, оңтүстік бөліге бұл идеология жағынан өте маңызды нәрсе деп есептеймін. Әсіресе
I think that raising the flag at the North and South Poles is very important from an ideological point of view, especially for the younger generation. After all, we know when the flag is raised in honor of a winning athlete or artist, statesman, each person is proud of it. When we raised the flag at the North Pole, we also felt proud of our homeland.
Сезінеді. Солтүстік полюске туды ілген уақытында бізде де сондай сезімдер болды.
The North Pole has its own characteristics. It is light here for 6 months and dark for 6 months. During the polar day, the sun does not set below the horizon for 24 hours. This lasts 190 days. After that, the polar night begins. Another feature is that wherever you go from the North Pole, you will always move south.
Полюс тұрған жерге белгі қойылады. Біз сол арада
An identification mark will be installed on a pole point. We went around the Earth in that place 3 to 4 times. So from one point you can completely bypass the Earth in 2-3 minutes.
бір айналып шығуыңызға мүмкіндігіңіз бар.
Yamaha Icebreaker is moving south, that is, in the direction of the port of Murmansk. But along the way, stops were made to other islands in the land of Franz Joseph. This is Champ Island, located in the central part of the archipelago. There are amazing ball-shaped stones here. To see a walrus and a polar bear is a big dream. Seeing the bird colony on the Rubini Rock is an amazing experience. This is a land full of amazing wonders. Franz Joseph Archipelago keeps traces of those who labored to discover these wonders of the universe. Travelers impressed by the world around them witnessed another amazing phenomenon along the way. This is an eclipse of the sun. It happens in this region once every 100 years. The trip to the North Pole was remembered for such special events and impressions associated with them. And the most important event is, of course, the raising of our flag at the edge of the earth.
Бірінші рет қазақтың туы жер шарының ең төбесіне апарып тігілді. Бұл да
For the first time, the Kazakh flag was on the edge of the planet, and this is an unforgettable special occasion. Therefore, we record all the places we have passed by creating a documentary film to bring all this to future generations. They shall know and be proud of our ancestors. Of course, everything depends, first of all, on us and how we educate the young generation. This is a very important, perhaps the most important question, I would say so.
үлкен маңызды жағдай деп айтар едім.
The expedition led by Sapar Iskakov also conquered the South Pole. Were our ancestors there? We will talk about this in our next episode.